Now, it is that time of the week. It's time for a family slot, and joining us on the line is Alan Morris from Alpha Ireland. Alan, you're very welcome to be back with us this week.
Thank you, Anna. It's good to be here.
Now, Alan, we've just completed our series on alpha marriage, and this week we're starting a new series. We're looking at parenting, and I have to say, being a mother, being a wife, it certainly is an area that we're concerned with, and particularly here at Life FM, it really is our desire to see families grow in their relationships with one another, and part of that is really building strong foundations, and that's what we're doing today, Alan. We're looking at building strong foundations.
Yeah, and in the parenting course that we're talking about here today, the centre, the surround, if you think of a wheel, right? Think of the wheel and the outside and the actual, if you like, the edge of the tyre. As parents, we're modelling values as parents to our children. So think of the outside as the modelling values, trying to give our children that kind of value system that are important to us. And in the centre then are long-term aims, building strong foundations, meeting our children's needs, setting boundaries, in teaching healthy relationships. Yeah. And in the very, very centre, it's love. Love is the core of it all.
Now, I'm going to read a letter, I think, that you sent me, isn't it, Alan? We're going to start off with this one, and it's a letter from a child. Now, it starts, letter from a child. Number 1, don't give me all I ask for. Most of the time, I'm just testing you. Please don't spoil me. Number 2, watch me well. I don't want to develop bad habits. I'll only regret later. Number 3, be firm with me. I prefer it like that. I feel secure if I know the limits I can go to. Number 4, don't overprotect me. I need to know the consequences of my actions sometimes, even though it may hurt to find out the hard way. Number 5, don't nag me, or I'll pretend to be deaf. Then when you need me to hear you, I may not be listening properly. Number 6, please don't tell me off in front of people. I listen much better if you tell me on my own. Number 7, don't tell me I'm bad or make me feel my mistakes are terrible sins. It is my behaviour that's bad sometimes, not me. Number 8, please don't take it to heart if I say I hate you. I don't mean it. I'm just mixed up and upset sometimes, and I can't think of any other way to get to you. Sometimes you seem so invincible and powerful. Number 9, please be consistent. I don't know where I am if 1 minute I can do a thing and the next I can't. Number 10, please don't belittle me. I may be smaller than you, but I have big feelings. Number 11, please don't tell me not to be silly. My fears may be silly to you, but to me they are very real. Tell me you understand. This really reassures me. Number 12, please listen to me when I ask questions. If you don't listen enough, I will go elsewhere to ask them and may get the wrong answers and be misled. Number 13, we are not all perfect. When you are wrong and apologise, it makes me love you all the more for being honest and truthful with me. Number 14, the world is a very new, exciting place for me. I just love experimenting. Please put up with me without getting cross. It won't last long. I'll be grown up very soon. Number 15, please don't forget I sometimes find it difficult to express myself. I don't know the words to say, so I don't always say what I really mean. Number 16, I know I'm growing up very quickly, and it is sometimes hard for you to keep up with me, but do try. I need you. Number 17, please look after yourself and keep fit and healthy. I need you. Number 18, keep your own life and hobbies up and be happy and contented. I need someone to look up to and respect. I need an example to model myself on. Number 19, Please remember, no matter what I do or say or how old I get, I thrive on love and understanding. Number 20. Please tell me you love me every day, and no matter how old I get, I'll always love a cuddle. P.S. I love you, even though I forget to tell you sometimes. Well, Alan, that's our letter from a child.
Sometimes, you know, you have to kind of understand where they're coming from, and sometimes it can be about us as parents and not maybe trying to understand them and trying to see it from their point of view. And I think that kind of letter there sometimes helps you to understand where they're coming from. And you know, that's nice. That's nice. So think about those points there, because it does challenge us to kind of, you know, think where they're at and understand them, and don't shame them. Be consistent. I always say one of my father's greatest strengths was his consistency. He gave me security in that consistency. And maybe that thing's undervalued to a lot of people, but I rated really high consistency in parents, because that gives them that confidence and that assurance that they know where they stand with you.
And there were some very important points, I think, you know, even though it was quite simple language, there were some very, very important points contained within that letter that we just looked at. Yeah.
That's lovely, and it's real, you know, it's real and vulnerable and all that, you know, and we make mistakes. And, you know, I often say, you know, it's in some ways it's a good thing when children make mistakes when they're very young, in some ways that we're there for them and we can help them through it. When they're old and adults and they make some mistakes, it's harder, you know. So just letting them, help them work through those mistakes in a maybe slightly more controlled environment is a much healthier way. And sometimes we don't want our children to make any mistakes. But it's sometimes through our mistakes that we grow, you know, and are challenged. But what is it? What are families for? You know, what's the point of families?
Support, I think, would be certainly a big one.
Love, absolutely, support to kind of, to, you know, so that we can be there when, you know, when they are rejected, that we're there when they face disappointments and failures, just like I said. You know, they can feel accepted and loved and encouraged in the family. So support is such an important part, to just be supportive of them, come alongside them, not always to fix them, but to support them and love them, accept them, encourage them. Also to have fun, simple, have fun together, be light. Sometimes we can be intense and want our children to achieve and things like that, but sometimes we have to be light. We just have to have fun, value laughter together, that inner kind of, you know, giggling of happiness together, and those kind of building those banks of memories of happy times together are very important. Have time together, just play games together, do light things together, that it's not always intense things, not always about projects, but it's just being fun together. It's so important, because sometimes we, you know, we can do parallel things together. They can watch the TV and stuff like that. But sometimes we have to do, like, I try to play games with my kids, because it's how maybe we connect more. Like card games. We have a game called Fuzzy Brain or Uno, or I was playing with my middle son, Battleships, where you're literally face to face against each other, you know? And it's a simple game, and it's simple fun, and it's just nice. And there's some games are longer, like you've got Monopoly, which is a great game, but it's like a 2-hour game. And sometimes, you know, you have to carve out that time if you want to play that game. But there are games that are shorter, like Snap even, you know, get a pack of cards and play Snap together if the child is young and it's teaching them numbers. We have a dinosaur game that's a race around the board and with dinosaurs. And it helps them to learn mathematics as well. So those are kind of fun things to do together and enjoyable. But also, families provide a moral compass.
Yeah,
what does
big
that
one,
mean?
I
You know,
think.
kind of a compass guiding them and learn about good and bad behaviours. You know, teaching them these things, such as thinking about others, taking responsibility of themselves, and helping around the house. You know. Like I've got a 13, 11 and 5-year-old son, and at 13 now I'm trying to encourage him to give a little bit in his time, in his helping in the house. So that's not always about him and about us just giving him everything, Because, when they get to a certain age, sometimes it's about, was it two things that children think about? Am I loved? And can I get my own way? And my 30-year-old, I'm trying to shift a little bit more that he's part of now, that he has to kind of give a bit. Now, not a huge amount that the burden is too heavy, but that he has to give back, that maybe he helps me do different things together. And it's together. That's nice.
Yeah.
So it gives back together. So helping the moral compass is important. But learning to relate. I remember a good friend of mine saying she's trying to build her children up so they can actually get out there and relate well in their actual the way they do things. If you like, shipping them out there so they can get into society and be able to relate well to people. Parent, children, mother, father, siblings. How they kind of can relate well in all those things.
Yeah, and we can do that by just, opening conversations, I think, with our children, just about things that are going on, on a day-to-day basis, things that are happening in their lives, and just, teaching them to kind of communicate with us, really, I think will benefit them when they do start to connect with the other adults or their peers or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I'm big into kind of making the eye contact, that the child actually looks into the person's eyes when they speak to them. And try and say a couple, like, when people come to the house, that they kind of, try and teach them to just engage, it may not be in a very deep way, but just say, hello, how are you, you're welcome, or something like, say one or two things that engages with the people that come in, that they look into their eyes, because you can tell a lot about a person when you look into their eyes. And the children kind of try, if they can try and do that, then they kind of connect a bit with the person coming. Also experiencing parent-children relationships. They're learning about parenting through us. That's scary.
I know.
Scary.
Yeah.
So how we do our parenting, that's what they're going to learn, and that's maybe the way they're going to parent when they become a parent themselves. So Warren Buffett, he's one of the most wealthiest men in the world, and he said this: there is no power on earth like unconditional love. And I think that is, if you offer that to your children, you're 90% of the way home. There may be days when you don't feel like it. It's not uncritical love. That's a different animal. But you can always come back. That is a huge hug in life. It's just nice, unconditional love. And I often say, take out the problem. I love you no matter what. I may not agree with you though, and we can disagree on different things, but I'll still always love my boys, no matter what they do. I will always love, as Jesus loves us unconditionally. He may not agree with us, but he will always love us. And remember that. So try and take out the situation and deal with the situation, as I said, with the parenting course, with the marriage course, and deal with the situation and not the person.
Yeah.
So observe mother, father, and the adult relationships, in that.
And I suppose just as an encouragement for parents who may be listening today, if you haven't had a positive example in your own life, it doesn't mean that you have to keep that on board. You can change things. You can become that positive example in your children's lives. You don't have to take on board everything that your own parents did. If things weren't healthy or things weren't right, be encouraged, because you can still go on and model a healthy parent-child relationship with your own children.
Absolutely. It's not the situation that makes us, but how we react to it, how we can actually do it better but still be real in it, recognizing our pasts, not overcompensating for the pasts, but just be real with your children and be true to them, and be natural with them. Don't try and elevate yourself too high, but be real with them. Yeah. And that helps them, and they'll see that children are very discerning, very discerning. And I love when my children name the emotions that we're going through. Like when my son says, I feel frustrated. I love when he says that. He's naming the emotion. That helps him to understand where he's at. He doesn't often say, I feel loved, but he does sometimes. But, I feel angry. It's naming the emotion. It's nice to do that in that. Remember, though, in 1 John 4:19, we love because he first loved us. God first loved us. And that's nice to know.
So moving on, Alan, take a look at patterns for a healthy family life for us. I just mentioned, things may not have been very healthy in your past, with your family situation, but have a look at patterns for, I'm not saying you particularly, Alan, I mean anybody, who's listening, and they may not have had that healthy pattern to work on from their past, but what is a pattern for a healthy family life?
Yeah, setting goals together, having a vision for our family life.
Yeah.
Pausing to think about what we want to achieve. What will our children memories be like? Kind of try and create good memory banks. Sometimes, when I often think that, we have good times and we have tough times with our children, and try and create more positive ones than negative, memories. And therefore, because there's so many positive things in there, that it's great.
Yeah.
The importance of play, I've said that, importance of play is so important. Using their imagination, learning skills, playing on their own, playing with others, indoor and outdoor play. Like, I know Diane, my wife, sometimes struggles with going out in the garden to play football with my youngest son, who's passionate about the football, but she goes out there and she's not very good at it, but she tries. And I think he sees that. And it's lovely for him that she kind of goes out there and tries to play with him, even though she doesn't particularly enjoy it, but she goes out and tries there.
Yeah. It's part of that bonding as well.
Sorry?
It's part of that bonding as well for a parent, to spend time playing with the children. Yeah.
A friend of mine often brings one of his children in the car on his own, going to do something so that they have one-on-one time together. And maybe they're not facing eye-to-eye contact. And maybe sometimes that's good if you're talking about difficult issues, but they can talk and chat about different things together. And, that's a way of actually having that one-on-one time that sometimes is hard to get. Taking a journey in the car to go and collect someone or do something else, you get that one-on-one time. Sometimes when I'm bringing my son to school, I like to bring him on my own so that I have sometimes the chats. And a lot of times he may not chat at all, but there's those little times when he does chat about different things, and it's lovely.
Yeah.
TV sometimes can be a battle. There's a TV recommendation limits for children under 3 years, no screen exposure. This is what the marriage course talks about. 3 to 7 years old, 30 to 60 minutes a day. 7 to 12-year-olds, 60 minutes a day. 12 to 15-year-olds, 90 minutes a day. And 16-plus-year-olds, 2 hours a day. And that's TV recommendation limits. I'm not sure exactly where the source comes from, but that's a recommendation, which is interesting. How much do our children watch TV? It's a challenge, isn't it?
And I think it's a challenge that many parents are facing and never kind of know exactly where the boundaries should be in that. I know you've kind of outlined them for us.
Yeah, I know. When I look at this, I kind of say to myself, how much do my children watch TV? And sometimes, we look on TV as maybe a babysitting service to take the pressure off us so we can do other things. Mm-hmm. And it takes work to actually come up with an alternative plan of what we do with them. So put them in the front of the TV, and it's chewing gum for the brain, as a friend says to me.
Yeah.
Just sitting there, and they don't actually make demands on us because of that. But we just have to be careful, and we have to be careful what they watch. I think the planners are great things on a lot of the TV making companies. You can put on the hard drive on different programs, and it's sometimes good to just put on, like, you can put on whatever these are, Peppa Pig or Shaun the Sheep, or all these ones that are kind of cartoons and good, and and just put them on a continual ring, and therefore they can watch part of them. And you can put the timer. I think the egg timer on your cooker is a great thing to put on. So because you can drift and you can get into other things. So you put it on and say, I'm going to let them watch it for 30 minutes or 40 minutes, and you put the egg timer on in your oven, and you go on, and then when it pings, that's the time now. Please turn off the TV. And that's a good thing to do when it comes to watching TV. The importance of bonding. Bonding, how we, I often say, how do you spell love? Time. You have to give the child time. There's been some studies recently. A guy called Owen Connolly is a child psychologist here in Dublin. And one of his studies that he's looked at into the whole attention deficit thing. And he's come up with this theory that the smell sometimes is related to connection and bonding with a child when they're very young. Mm-hmm. So he actually really challenges people that when their child comes, hold them, let them smell you. Yeah. Let them smell you, like well, you know what I mean? And they're in close to you so they can actually smell, and that's how they connect in a deeper way, and they feel connected to you. So don't be afraid to hold them in your arms and nurture them that way, because that's maybe how they can bond with you first, through smell, simply through smell.
Yeah, and it's amazing how nostalgic a smell can be, and how it can take us back to a time and a place. And I know my own mum passed away when I was 15, but she had a particular perfume that she used to wear. And, even though sometimes, obviously having, gone on, 20 odd years since then, sometimes it's hard to remember somebody's features, but you can remember the smells, and it does kind of take you back. I think it does give a wonderful sense of nostalgia.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So don't, remember that, particularly when they're a young child, hold them. It's not to say you should be holding them all the time, but make sure that, you've got a scent, that they've got a scent of you, because that's an important thing in bonding. The quality time we've talked about, there's a very, the first 18 months of a child's life is very significant. So remember that. So give as much time in that first 18 months, because that's when a lot of bonding happens.
I know we've a lot more to cover on this, Alan, and I know we're kind of out of time for today, but there are a lot of elements to the parenting that we're going to be covering over the next number of weeks. We're going to be looking at meeting our children's needs, setting boundaries, healthy relationships, and the long-term aim, of course, as you said. So there's a lot more to come, and I know we just kind of touched briefly on building strong foundations, and I know it's going to be kind of interwoven with a lot of stuff that we're going to cover over the next number of weeks.
Yeah, just so you know, God speaks to you in all of us in amazing ways. And today's UCB word for the day notes is about few things can discourage you like children who don't follow your path. As Christian parents, we long to see our children serve God, but they have to choose their own path. And in the Bible, it talks a lot about Isaac and Jacob surrendering to God, but Esau not, and Samuel's son, and there's lots of people that didn't choose that way. God alone can save. Salvation is of the Lord. And sometimes, I remember in our Bible study there a while back, we talked about how each of us want our children so much to become Christians and have a relationship with Christ. But you know what the thing is? It's God. God says we can't. And sometimes we get onto the burden of wanting our children really, and we're pushing hard at that. And I struggle sometimes with that myself. But, it's God. But God will. God is there, and just pray for them, lift them up to the Lord. So that's a challenge there to me, I suppose, and all that I'd love them to have a relationship with the Lord.
Now, Alan, between now and next week, if people do want more information, how can they do that? How can they check that out?
Look, if you go onto the alphacourse.ie website, there's two parenting DVDs, the 0 to 10 and then the 11 to 18-year-old DVDs. And interestingly enough, Diana and myself are on the 0 to 10 DVD and part of it. And it kind of divides into two areas. And if you have a heart for doing a parenting course in your school, church, community, get the DVD and the book and look at that, because it's a great tool for helping parents in how to parent well.
Yeah, and there's a lot of good stuff in there. Alan, thank you so much for taking the time to chat to us this week. We look forward to having you back on the show next week. Lots more to come.
Pleasure, Anna. God bless you.
Thanks, Alan. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.